you feeling the luck of the Irish? St. Patrick's Day is around the corner, and if you're wanting to get festive, we've got you covered. Beer, braised cabbage, and apples are what's for dinner. And joining us now, Broadway actress and, of course, Southern Staples Season 1 Showdown champion, Siri Howard. What was your inspiration behind this one?
Well, I think cooking for St. Patrick's Day is so great. It's a wonderful tradition. You don't have to be Irish to enjoy it. But I find sometimes that I get kind of uninspired by the traditional things. And not to say tradition isn't awesome. I love traditions. But there are always ways that we can sort of zhuzh it up a little bit. So I started thinking about it, and I picked up a brisket, and I was like, what do I want to do alongside this? And I actually love cabbage. So I started thinking about what I could do to make it a little bit more flavorful and interesting for St. Patrick's Day. So what I've done here is I've braised it in beer. And when you're choosing a beer to braise in, you want to avoid a really hoppy, sort of bitter beer like an IPA. Right here, I have a stout. You can do lager, ale. That's really your journey. Here's a popular Irish stout here. And that's what I used. And it turns out so great. The apples give it some sweetness. You caramelize the onions in the pan first. That gets really cooked down. I cooked mine for a long time because I really like it to sort of be buttery and soft, but you don't have to. You could actually cook it for less time and still have a little bit of that crunch that you get from cabbage, which is totally acceptable and lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of started telling us a little about the process, but walk us back through the beginning of how we're going to make this dish.
Absolutely. So you start with your butter. You're going to melt a couple tablespoons of butter in either a heavy bottomed pot or a large heavy saucepan. So you're gonna melt that down, then you're gonna add your sliced onions and your chopped up apple. And you sort of let that go over medium heat and let it really soften up. You can add some salt and pepper to that to get that going. And once that is cooked down for a few minutes and it's really gotten soft and the onions are starting to get a little golden, that's when you're gonna add in a few extra ingredients. You're gonna put in your beer. You're gonna add your mustard, your salt and pepper, let that cook a little bit. We also have caraway seeds. I like caraway seeds a lot. They have a sort of earthy, slightly nutty flavor to them. So it's kind of counterbalancing maybe a little bit of the bitterness from the beer, the sweetness from the apples. And so we get a lot of different flavors. So you add that in, you let those cook down for a few minutes, then you're gonna add your cabbage. Now, depending on the size of your cabbage, you might need to start in little batches, or the size of your pot, certainly. And then, so you wanna, it's gonna be chopped up. And I left it whole here so you can see, cabbages have this big stalk right here. So you're going to want to cut that out, that sort of big rib right in the middle. So when you're chopping it up, you don't have to worry about the parts that you have to sort of get rid of. So you get rid of that first. And you chop that up nicely, you get it in your pot, you let it cook down. Make sure you're stirring it up, getting all those ingredients in for, I would say, 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the size of your cabbage or how much crunch you want in your cabbage. And then you are ready to boogie. It's so good.
I love Dijon mustard.
Yes.
I'm always a fan of that. Anything with that I'm gonna eat.
Agree. I love Dijon, and you can also use stone ground if you prefer, but that mustard, that nice acidic hit, and you've got your apple cider vinegar as well for that. So
I know you're a mom to two littles. This is a dish that I feel like some of my siblings, some of my friends would be like, I'm too picky to try that. Any advice to getting them to still want to pick up the fork?
Actually, my 3-year-old, I was cooking this, I was working on this last night, and she was like, Mommy, can I have some? And I said, yes, honey, you absolutely can. And she loved it. I think because it does have a lot of sweetness to it with the onions and the apple, and it does have a nice little bit of texture. It's actually pretty great. If you can convince them it's a lucky dish. You get the luck of the Irish from it. Maybe that's a good way to introduce it and get them to try it. And once they try it, I think they're really going to like it.
And maybe be like Siri and I and wear a little bit of green. I have a green bow in the back. You've got a green shirt on.
There we go.
So we've got our Irish kind of roots there while we're cooking. I feel like we're talking about cooking. We have to talk about Season 2 of Southern Staples Showdown.
Oh my gosh, how much fun have we had doing this?
So much fun. What was it like coming back this year as a judge?
It was really fun. I thought, oh, I know exactly how they're feeling. I know those nerves and that anxiety. So it was really actually very interesting to be on the other side of it observing, but I had so much fun because I love to cook and I love supporting people who want to enjoy that experience. I was really proud of people who have not a lot of experience with cooking, who are willing to get up there and put themselves on the line. I thought that was so brave and awesome, and it's such a supportive environment. So it was really fun to be a part of.
And it was a pretty close competition this year.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of really good talent there.
I was actually super surprised. There were some bites I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
We had to really kind of weigh some things out.
There were a few times that I went to Siri's plate afterwards, and I said, I'm going to finish that for you because it looks so good.
I know,
So
I almost fought you for it.
It's very, very true. Okay, well, thank you so much for stopping
Thank
in
you.
for What's for Dinner and also for Southern Staple Showdown, which is coming up next. But if you want Siri's recipe for today and, of course, past What's for Dinner recipes, just head on over to our website, foxcarolina.com.